Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
This year has been an incredible year for the Bucks. I think they are the best team. I think they are my favorite to win it. But obviously, look, this is still the beginning for Giannis, which is the crazy part.
Now, when I was a young boy, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
So this is an interesting finals, as Alan has pointed out, Jay, multiple times.
Phoenix, Milwaukee, not what we expected.
Nobody expected these teams to be here.
Old man voice with me, by the way. Like, why would you
Jay,
do that?
Yes.
Jay, he's
Get
like,
off my lawn.
He will not let it go. We're here, and we're loving the fact that we're here as true basketball hoop heads.
NBA Finals begin tonight. The Bucks and the Suns. That, of course, means NBA Countdown, which is on the road. And that, of course, means our guy, Jay Will.
What's up, squad?
Join us right now from Phoenix. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I got to tell you something that you both have a little bit of a chuckle about. So yesterday I'm going through Phoenix Airport, and there's a guy that's been staring at me on the plane for a while, and he's trying to figure it out. Have you ever had these moments, Monica, where you see somebody, they see you, I see you, see me, and you're trying to figure it out, but he can't put it together. So he's walked by me a couple of times to go to the bathroom, and he's giving like the weird look while he's waiting to go to the bathroom. I'm like, all right, I got it. So we get off the plane, and I'm walking now, I'm waiting at the baggage carousel for my bag to come out, and he walks by me, and he says, Jay Will, the Celtics tweet, I stand behind you. And he just keeps moving. And I'm like, what? That's what you waited 3 hours to say to me? That's what you waited 3 hours to say to me.
He was Googling like crazy. He probably took a picture of you, sent it to his boy, like,
I stand behind you.
Is that Jay Will? Is it? Are you sure? Right? And his boy's like, yeah, I think it is. Well, just say you stand by his tweet, see how he reacts.
You can't say like, hey, what's up, man? How are you? Like, what's going on? How are you doing, Monica's like, no, I stand behind you.
Wow.
Thanks.
And then you're like, can you stop?
Why don't you stand in front of me?
Right.
Do that. That would be better for me, okay? Thank you.
Oh, man. So you feeling good that we do have a finals now? And just give us a quick take on the matchup and the teams that we now have here in the NBA Finals. Not something that I think anybody would have predicted at the start of the playoffs, but they are the two teams that now are left standing.
You see, Al, I'm part of the camp. I love this because there's fresh, new faces, right? Like, I love LeBron James. I hear about LeBron James all the time. Obviously, there's a super team in Brooklyn. We hear about Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie all the time. Like, I love the fact that we're talking now about Devin Booker. We're talking about CP3, a guy that hasn't been here after being in the league for 16 years. I love that we're talking about Giannis being hurt, but his team actually playing better team basketball, and now him having a chance to cap off with the title. So this is, for me, this is exciting new basketball. Plus, the fanfare here in Phoenix, like, they are live. They are ready for their first championship in the history of the organization.
So tell you what, give us big three things, your Jay's big three things to watch for game one tonight.
All right.
Number three.
Number three.
We got to drop.
We got to drop. I love when it just randomly pops in there. You're not ready for it, but now I'm ready for it. Reacting. Number three. Play it again. Number three. Play it again. Number three. Play it one more time.
Number three.
There it is.
Great. So many bucks on the line. I mean, how many times have we fired Coach Bud? I mean, it's been like 8,000 times on social media. Yeah. Now we have this matchup between Monty Williams. If you know any of the story about Monty Williams, the fact that him surviving through his wife's passing and being an incredible father and putting himself, almost manifesting the fact that he's gotten there. What a colossal matchup. But now Giannis, a pair of MVPs, gets a chance to get a championship because he has no rings. And Milwaukee, the better defensive team, brings the best player, in my opinion, with the best individual matchups. I know we ask this question all the time in media. Most to lose. I'm not going to say that. Most to gain. I think for Giannis, right now at this stage of his career, I think this has a lot of pressure on the Bucks to really cement the deal and confirm the legacy for a team that's been considered to be the best regular season basketball team in the NBA over the last several years.
Number two.
This is the 10th pick in 2008 versus the first pick 10 years later in 2018. DeAndre Ayton has gone against some pretty interesting competition, okay? He's a lot of times been the most impactful player on the floor, sometimes the most dominant, but he's gone against Andre Drummond. He's gone against Zubac from the Clippers. And Jokic is probably the most formidable opponent he's gone against offensively. But other than Jokic, he hasn't really been challenged a ton defensively. Brook Lopez is a clever defender. His shot blocking ability is undervalued, and he can shoot threes. Bobby Portis is another guy that brings a motor off the bench. I think this is going to be the biggest challenge for DeAndre Ayton. Everybody's talking about CP3. Everybody's talking about Giannis. But I'm telling you, DeAndre Ayton is going to be the key in how defensively he can play, and also offensively, if he can move around Brook Lopez on the floor. That's a low-key, major, colossal matchup that we need to pay attention to in this series.
Number 1.
Do you love summer holidays? Because I do. 4th of July, Juneteenth, they're all around. Take time off work. Yeah, we're going to start taking time off work for Juneteenth. That's right, Monica, you heard me.
I'm with
We're going to start doing that. But the beautiful thing is, if you're CP3, how do you feel about summer holidays? Because right now, Drew Holiday, after getting torched for 48 points by Trae Young in that opening Eastern Conference Finals, he has bounced back in big ways. And this is why the Bucks send a first-round picks and swaps to New Orleans and also pay Holiday a massive extension for him to be a difference maker defensively who helps produce a title. Like, I want the Bucks to have zero buyer's remorse because he's going to have to go against CP3 and Devin Booker. You're going to see both of those matchups going towards him, and those are huge shoes to fill, especially considering the way Devin Booker and CP3 have played. This is the matchup that you love. As a point guard, as a guy who's in the trenches, who's constantly thinking the game, watching Drew Holiday, who's 6'3.5", 6'4", 205 pounds, going against CP3, who's 6'2", to see him try to dismantle Chris Paul and how he's going to have to do it defensively. This is why the Bucks brought him to the table, to close the deal against a guy like CP3.
That is by the way, the play on words with Holiday, Jay, I mean, sharp today, my man. That I love that one. And of course, again, Jay Will joining us right now. It's Keyshawn Jay Will Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us on the Goodyear Hotline. Jay is not a guest. He is part of this show. In fact, we go 4 wide today because it's Alan Hahn, Monica McNutt, and Mike Tannenbaum also here with us this morning. So the Chris Paul topic is certainly the one, guys, that I feel like when you talk about the emotional story of him, I mean, the Monty Williams story as a coach is a great story, and you did talk about that, Jay. But Chris Paul, 16 years, finally getting to the summit. You know, can he win a championship before all's said and done? It makes me now, let's talk about just Chris Paul in general. As the player, as the career, as the entity, he gets this far, you feel like he was already probably headed to the Hall of Fame. This only adds to the resume. How do we remember him, though, when it's all said and done? Now, I don't want to do a retrospective. Of course, he's still playing, and he probably will continue to play after the season. But I like doing this with guys who've been in the league such a long time. In baseball, when you go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, you wear a cap, right? It's the team's logo, that team you spent the most time with or you're most remembered being with. You tend to choose it, but let's choose it for a guy like Chris Paul. All said and done, even if he wins a championship with Phoenix, what cap are we putting on his head? What logo do we associate him with the most in his career? What would you say, Jay?
If he wins a championship?
Yeah.
I got in an argument with a guy yesterday on the plane about this. I'm going with Phoenix. Because for me, I'm watching a transformation. I'm watching a guy that came into the league with New Orleans, got out, went to the Clippers, really got hit with injuries at the wrong times, him and Blake Griffin, could never get over the hump, and then goes to a team like, Houston, still can't get over the hump. Then he starts this transformation process, though. After leaving Houston, going to OKC, I'm watching him work with younger players and really changing the mantra of how people have seen him. He loses weight, goes like on a no-meat diet, and all of a sudden he starts to become that player. It's like, wow, he's changed the franchise every place he's gone. So if he can cap it off by leading a team that has never won a championship since they've been in the league, with a young core, if he can cap that off, I don't care who the hell they had to go through. Yeah, AD wasn't there. Yeah, Jamal Murray wasn't there. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard wasn't there. Yeah, Giannis may not be there. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. You can only play the teams in front of you. If he caps it off, I will forever remember CP3 as a Phoenix Sun.
That's a no-brainer. I completely agree with Jay. And honestly, when we think of the other teams that he was with, you think of coming up short. You think of injuries. You think of kind of off. I don't want to call it purgatory, but like nobody thought much of anything that he was going to do in OKC. So there's no other team to think of. Like it's what you disagree?
Completely disagree.
Who is it then?
I will always think of Lob City. I will always
For
think
what?
of Chris Paul and
what?
Because the Clippers used to be a joke of a franchise. Other than maybe a little bit of time when they had some young guys, when they had guys like Q Rich, our good friend of the show, and that crew. Aside from that, they were usually a joke. They were usually a punchline franchise.
And Phoenix
he got
wasn't.
there.
And Phoenix wasn't.
No, you forgot about Steve Nash and his time
okay,
there.
I was about
How
to
about
say,
Charles
in the last,
Barkley and Tom Chambers and Kevin Johnson?
Wait a minute, but it's been a minute since all those guys made Phoenix.
But how about Donald
Don't act
Sterling,
like-
too, Monica?
No, and that's what I'm saying. And Chris Paul endured through all that, but he was the linchpin. He goes there, and the Clippers as a team were no longer a joke. And Blake Griffin was there, and obviously Jordan, and the team that they had became a fun team to watch. While the Lakers suddenly were losing, obviously they always had their fan base, but they weren't that same Laker team during that era.
But Alan,
and I always just
Over
associate
Phoenix,
him
though?
as a Clipper. This is great, but it's like saying Kawhi Leonard's going to be remembered as a Raptor. He was there for a minute. Yeah, he got a chip, but he was there for a minute. You can't. Kawhi Leonard's not putting a Raptors cap on in the Hall
Kawhi
of
Leonard's a
Fame.
completely different story, though, Alan. I mean,
definitely
you
said
can
Raptors,
actually make a case that he'll probably be remembered more so for being a Clipper than he will for a Spur or a Raptor. But back to CP3, just let me say this, though. Do we not forget? Like, I think sometimes we become prisoners of the moment because we live in now. And I know that case could be used against me for the state of Phoenix, but do you remember what the now used to be with the Clippers? Like, they were a team that were always injured. They can never get over the hump. And I almost feel like this is a social media type of conversation because people love to bask in negativity for certain athletes, right? Well, remember that time CP3 broke his hand and they couldn't get to the Western Conference Finals, or Blake Griffin got hurt? Like, why do we always remember athletes by the things that they couldn't do instead of remembering them by the things that they're about to do or things that they accomplished? Like, if he wins a championship right now.
That's not what I was saying, though. I wasn't saying that I remember him for the failure with the Clippers. I remember him for what he did with that. Like, the Clippers became legit. Like, that was a good team. And in my lifetime, I never looked at the Clippers like that.
I can't.
Never.
I can't.
I looked at the Clippers as where you went to blow out your ACL and have your career just go to hell.
I can't.
That's what the Clippers used to be.
They still are that.
Day.
They still are that, Alan.
I don't know. Mike T, because we are all basketball people that maybe are too close to the situation. Mike Tannenbaum, what would you say? Would you say that if Chris Paul wins a championship with the Phoenix Suns, that you would say, oh, I'll always remember him now as a Sun. He will be a Phoenix Sun forever, in my mind.
Well, first of all, Alan, you're burying the lead. I still can't get over Jay Will's story that he didn't fly private out to Phoenix. So you lost me there.
That's only on the way back. That's only on the way
He was on a
back.
commercial flight. Was that your first time on a commercial flight? So we got to start with that. I'm asking for a
Come on,
friend.
MT. Come on, MT. Don't blow me up right away.
You know, I love you, Jay Will. But I would say this. If he does win a championship, that would be a legacy-defining moment. I think we would have to remember him as a Sun if he wins a championship, over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Mike T. Han,
Thank
I'm
you.
disappointed in you. In fact, I would have almost rather you have said you would remember the Lakers trade that shoulda, coulda, woulda been than the time with the Clippers.
That will always remain that, but I'm not going to give him a Lakers cap because he didn't get traded there.
But in terms of things that are memorable, Lob City, that was cool. It wasn't successful.
It wasn't successful. He was there a long time, and they were a team. Like, you had to.
But the whole thing going into
just
the
being
season,
somewhere once doesn't give you a legacy forever
If
with that
you
team.
get them a
so you're saying Kawhi?
championship-
You're saying Kawhi Leonard
all right.
should have a Raptors cap
Jay,
in our
Jay,
imaginary Hall of
Monica.
Fame?
I'm gonna let us go behind the veil this morning as we prepared for this show, and the question was posed: what do you remember Kawhi for? I said Raptors. Yes, I said Raptors.
Come on now. I don't understand that. All right.
So you remember him more for the Spurs, Alan?
Yeah, of course. That great
I'm not- I mean,
championship
that's
he
a-
won where he was Finals MVP. The great
But
job
see,
he did
that-
against Miami. He spent most of his career there.
With
If not
tremendous
for
Hall of Famers
Pachulia,
around
maybe
him.
they have another one. You never know. But then things went south there. But unfortunately,
see,
he spent
Al,
most of his time there. Now, he'd have to
see-
do something with the Clippers for me to change my mind over the next couple of years. But right now, I still think of him as a Spur.
All right, so when I think about the Spurs, I think about Tim Duncan-led
Thank you,
teams.
Jay.
I think about, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Monica. We're on the same page here.
Yes.
They were the leaders of that team. I think
David
about Kawhi
Robinson.
being exactly,
There you go,
MT. I think about Kawhi being a young buck that got put in a great situation and excelled with great veterans around him. I think more Toronto than I would anything else if you're talking about
There
just
for
a
6
championship.
months.
But that's what makes
But
it
he won a chip,
spectacular.
though.
Exactly. It
He
was
won a
Tom
chip.
Brady before it was Tom Brady in Tampa, Mike.
6 months.
And he got
Your
it done.
memory of him, like,
add
I'll
Kawhi,
always remember that
add
year
water,
in Toronto.
Toronto championship.
Man, come on.
You couldn't do it.
All right, let's
But
make
see,
it
Monica,
hard.
I'm even taking a step further, Monica. See, because now when I think about Kawhi, I go back to the chip, but I also go to, is he going to stay with Toronto? No, he's going to go back home to L.A. He's going to bring Paul George to L.A. Oh, my God, they were up 3-1 against Denver. They lost that in the bubble. Hey, Doc Rivers, you're gone. This is Kawhi's team. So, yes, I remember the championship in Toronto, but now I feel like there's a lot more pressure for the legacy to be cemented
I agree with
in Los Angeles
Mike T,
because of all that.
What's a good NFL example of this? Would Reggie White be one that you could debate? Is he an Eagle? Is he a Packer? I mean, I would say probably Packer, right?
That's a great example because obviously he wins the championship with Green Bay, but he really is an Eagle in a lot of ways. I think that's probably the most analogous situation is an all-time great going someplace else and winning the ring. Obviously, Brady's an interesting discussion, but he has all those other titles with the Patriots that I don't think anybody in good conscience would ever say that, hey, they're going to remember, Tom Brady as a Buccaneer.
Right, all time. Although Brady might just throw shade and just say, "No, I'm wearing my Tampa cap to the Hall of Fame." If you did have that option, how about LeBron James? Think of a guy that has won championships now with 3 different franchises. When I think of LeBron James, I'll set the stage because you guys are attacking me anyway. I don't care. I think of LeBron James, I think 07 through 2010 LeBron, that's my classic LeBron. That's the LeBron. So the Cavaliers LeBron is the LeBron I'll always remember.
I go to the Beatles. I go to the Heatles.
Really?
I do.
Come on.
I do. I go to LeBron James, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. And not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. I go to that, because I think that's where LeBron took another step in the stage of his career.
So interestingly enough, I can't go to just one with the Lakers. But if he gets more than one,
Like
with the
Keyshawn
Lakers,
said, you got to win 2 just to get the statue behind the building.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the tough
he's
thing about being a
legit,
Laker.
and I think because I don't know, Jay, because if the argument for the Spurs experience or Kawhi with the Spurs was all of the firepower he had around him, then I got to give some of that credence to LeBron in Miami as well. But I think if he can get more than one with the Lakers at this stage of his career, I don't know. This one's tricky. I don't know. This one's ooh.
Mike T, what do you got?
Well, I think it has to be Cleveland. He's an Akron native. He's done so much there in terms of starting charter schools. I think that's where his roots are. And when it's all said and done, I think people are going to identify him as an Ohio native and as a Cavalier.
888 say ESPN,
got
888-729-3776.
Yes.
On this. I mean, you could do this with a lot of different players, a lot of different athletes, of course, because it's always fun to do. Because
Danny Green.
We always, yeah, right, Danny Green, Robert Horry, right? Like, what do you remember? How about like Steve Kerr? Do you remember Steve Kerr as a player? Was he a Spur? Was he a Bull? Or do you remember more of as a coach?
This is all,
is he a warrior now?
This becomes age, though, because
It does become age.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Steve
it does
Kerr as a
become
Bull.
age. And I mean, how about Dennis Rodman? See, I look at Dennis Rodman as if Dennis Rodman is the guy
Detroit.
that has to put a cap on. Yeah, I'm
Detroit
with
for
you, Jay.
me.
He's a
For
Piston.
sure.
Be that part of that bad boys.
See,
How about Jason Kidd,
I
Al?
got him as a Bull.
Yeah, Jason Kidd.
Is he a Phoenix Sun? Is he with
he a
the
Net?
blonde hair? Is he a Dallas Maverick? Is he a New Jersey Nets?
Wow.
I mean, isn't Jason Kidd like I remember him as a New Jersey Net. I mean, he won the championship in Dallas, but that's Dirk's title. He certainly did a lot to help him win that thing. But the guy I remember when I think of classic J Kidd, I mean that's that early 2000s New Jersey Nets.
That's
What he
what
did
the
with that
Nets, right?
squad,
Yeah.
right? Like that's another one.
Alan,
yeah.
how about Carmelo Anthony? Is he a Nugget?
Yes.
I mean, his best years, right?
He's a Nugget.
Like
Could be a Nick a little bit. We have fun.
Yeah, Nugget sounds almost like kind of like
A nugget.
a
Little
cute
nugget.
little nugget.
Is
Like-
he a cute little? Because
Hey,
I know
but
you want to.
no,
I know
no,
you want to claim him as a Nick.
Check
I know
this,
you
he
do.
definitely-
Oh,
wants to claim as a Nick.
I mean, I can't do that. I mean, I do claim him. I mean,
What?
he's.
You can't? I'm surprised.
what?
I'll tell you what. I'll say this about Melo. After seeing Chris Paul get to the finals now and enjoy this, Melo's. I need to see him. get to a
Detroit
finals now.
blew it.
Before it's over. Think about that.
Detroit
too.
blew
Hey,
it
guys.
for all parties involved, Jay. Like, that's the
Agreed.
thing. For the team, for Melo.
What
like,
about
Yeah.
go, MT.
I was going to say one more name to What about Kyrie Irving?
Ooh.
He's in that.
Ooh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good because
It's not that
no
That's
Celtics
tough.
going to claim him.
No,
He
they're
didn't
not
do
going to claim
anything
him at
there.
all.
He did win
won
a
in
chip
Cleveland.
he won in the Cleveland, but
But on the way he won in Cleveland, I mean, he made the dagger
biggest
shot
shot.
in Game
Biggest
7.
shot, no doubt about it. One of
He's the
biggest shots.
closer.
I agree.
It's Kyrie Irving has a ring, and no, he just has that ring on his hat.
But if you're in,
Not
let's
gonna
ask.
put a
I mean,
team.
I'd like to ask Cleveland. Do you claim Kyrie? Like, do you claim him? Because
He
You
just
have to.
he's left these places in a blaze, and it's kind of like, ooh, that was not pretty.
yeah,
But you have to claim him. I mean, that's the first championship Cleveland has ever won
we are also
in basketball.
burying the lead. Kevin Durant.
He hasn't won anywhere else yet, though.
Yes.
He's a Thunder man. Like he's. Like
I mean, so you're saying that James
Harden.
Harden, Russell Westbrook, and KD are all Thunder to you, Alan?
Nah, Harden is
That's
Harden
wild.
is a rocket, man.
That's why
It's crazy to think all three of those dudes were on the same squad.
It's so wild.
Mike,
And Sam Presti has like 8,000 draft picks just sitting there.
I'm telling, and you think about like we go back to this too, because Mike, can you imagine having on a roster those three guys, Harden, Westbrook, and KD? Like you did that well in the draft. You got three guys that right now are all gonna be Hall of Famers. I don't care what anybody says about Russell Westbrook. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. James Harden's gonna be a Hall of Famer. All right, championship or not, these guys are Hall of Fame talents. So you drafted those three, you had them on a roster, and you got to a finals with them early in their careers. And all three of them are gone within 10 years.
Yep.
And you don't win.
Yeah,
a
it
title.
can't happen once they're there. It can't happen. You send them. You got to sign them to max deals as quickly and as early as possible. And to Jay Will's point, they do have a ton of picks, but regardless of how many picks you have, at best they'll be 80% of Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. Like it's never going to be better than that. So when you identify that you have something that special, you have to be proactive and get them signed as quickly as possible.
I love that. I'd love to also get Mike just quickly. Imagine being a franchise that passed on Carmelo Anthony and still won an NBA championship. But maybe could have won more though. Like, just
Definitely
again,
could've won
from the executive perspective, do you look at something like that and think, what? How?
Yeah, all the time. Sometimes we overcomplicate things. I've made these mistakes too, but you look at Justin Herbert right now. You could say that Justin Herbert should have been the first pick in the draft 2 years ago.
I love
He was
that
the
take.
biggest, the strongest, and the fastest.
Is sticking with this take, boy.
I love that take, Mike.
Not budging.
The Burrow Herbert conversation could
I think
be one
Burrow's
we have
gonna be
later in the year.
fine, but
He
I get it,
well, do you
Mike.
want fine or do you want great?
I know, but
What are you
listen,
doing in the draft?
But okay, so Mike, at the we gotta go to break.
We
but
do. No, we'll continue this.
We gotta
No,
do this.
We'll
Yeah.
continue this, no doubt about it. Keyshawn J. Will Zubin brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Be your own hotspot with Straight Talk's ultimate unlimited plan. Get 10 gigs of hotspot data for just $55 a month. All in America's largest, most dependable network. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Compatible device required. See straighttalk.com. As I said, we will continue this conversation coming up. Again, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776 if you want to join it. Why not? We're 4 wide. We can go 5 wide with you as the caller as well. But we will discuss after Monica has this from
O'Reilly. Yeah,
or Granger or something.
I got
I
O'Reilly.
thought we
in
have
my hand.
O'Reilly, don't we?
We got O'Reilly in my